everybody, welcome to another episode of Adventures with EDU-KATIE. Today we are at the Shadow Creek Ranch Nature Trail because the prairie is blooming. So surrounded all behind me for several acres, there are tons and tons and tons of wildflowers that are native prairie grasses and flowers that are all blooming. So here in our renaturalized prairie site, we have lots of different species of native grasses and native flowers. Now, what does it mean for a plant to be native? What it means is this plant is here indigenously. It's from Texas, grown in Texas, and it has also evolved to have a mutualistic relationship between the plants and the wildlife that surround it. So here in our prairie area, we have lots of native plants because the animal species that live here need these plants in order to survive. One of the species that is benefited by this prairie are lots of species of pollinators. Behind me, you'll probably see butterflies, bees, wasps, all different species of flies that are all benefiting from these native plants. So another really important feature of the prairie are the roots that the grasses and flowers actually have. Sometimes their roots will go 5, 10, even 15 to 20 feet down into the soil. And because their roots go so far down, they help to absorb more water than non-native plants. So with the prairie, when we have those torrential downpours, which are quite frequently seen here in the Pearland and Houston areas, the prairies absorb more water and stop flooding. So like I said, we are here at the Shadow Creek Ranch Nature Trail, which is managed by the City of Pearland's Natural Resources Division, and specifically our Natural Resources Manager, Cullen Ondrasik. So Cullen's gonna tell you guys some really cool facts and information about the prairie site here at the Shadow Creek Ranch Nature Trail.
Thanks, Katie. So we're here at the Shadow Creek Ranch Nature Trail, our prairie restoration site, where there are different types of prairies throughout the United States, and we are part of what's called the coastal tallgrass prairie system. So historically, there was about 9 million acres that stretched all along the coast of Texas and into Louisiana, and now today there's less than 1% remaining. So what we're doing out here, we have about 10 acres that you can see all behind us that we're bringing back all the native plant communities. And we know all the benefits that brings back for wildlife. And so since we've already started restoring and bringing back this plant community, we're already starting to see some of those species like LeConte sparrows returning and all the different pollinators and butterflies you'll see throughout the site. So prairies are mostly made up of a mixture of a wide variety of grasses and flowering plants. So here in our site, we're bringing back all things that would naturally be found in a coastal prairie. So like this is actually a switchgrass right here. We have American basket flower growing. This big one right here is called a Maximilian sunflower. It'll get really big and put on a lot of blooms as it grows. These are called bee balms here. Here's another swamp sunflower. So there's all sorts of different species all growing together that, to the untrained eye, you may not see all the different species mixing and growing in together. It may just look like, oh, that's just a field. But once you really start looking at the complexities of it and having all these different species, that's really beneficial to a lot of different types of wildlife.